The GMC Yukon in its 2021 version is a bundle of surprises. In fact, there are many changes which were overdue as well. So it's a great package, and what I like most about it is, even while it has grown in size, it has become much more enjoyable. It's much easier to maneuver and much more capable. And the best part is now it has trim levels very clearly defined, appealing to two different kinds of customers, one that is looking for adventure and one for pure luxury. And in both segments, it offers great value as well. And this is the Denali, the peak of luxury in the GMC range. Now, in fact, Denali is probably the trim level that gives GM the bragging rights of being a luxury brand. Yukon Denali is, of course, at the top. Externally, there are a few differences, starting with the wheel size. When the entire range gets 20-inch wheels, these are 22-inch wheels. There are two simple ways of recognizing a Denali from the front and back. One, of course, is the grille. Now, this one gets a mesh grille, a very luxurious, powerful-looking grille, while the rest of them get a slatted type of a grille. The easiest way to identify the Yukon Denali from the rear are these. The exhaust, the tailpipes, two each on either side. But the most powerful difference is under here. It's a 6.2-litre V8 engine, the pride of GM and the best in class. 624 Newton meters of torque and 420 horsepower. Oh, it's a pity all that torque is going to get wasted on urban roads, displaying its plumes. But then, well, it doesn't mean that the Denali is not capable. Now, the bumpers here, yes, they are city bumpers, urban bumpers, more built for the city roads, unlike the others, which they have a raised stance. But not to worry, this car comes with air suspensions as standard, which means when it's time for off-roading, this can be raised by 2 inches, 5 centimeters, which should be good enough ground clearance for some bit of off-roading. There is more inside that makes a Denali a Denali. For example, these side steps, they are standard in the AT4 and the Denali. And inside, the level at which the interiors work, I mean the luxury quotient in this car. In fact, look at the wood, the leather. Just to give you an idea, the leather inside this cabin is many grades higher, superior to the rest of the range. The black screen with the chrome around it, the wood trims on either side, and the console, all these have been well put together in the Denali. Well, it's really premium. But if you take the other trim levels, I mean, that's probably the only thing I don't like about the new Yukon. The trapezoidal screen kind of looks out of place in terms of identity of a GMC. But otherwise, all is good. In fact, it doesn't have to be a Denali to feel the luxury inside a Yukon, because the new Yukon comes with a lot of features you expect in only premium luxury cars. For instance, the noise cancellation. The quietness in this cabin is purely luxury class. If you run your fingers along here, you can feel a double layer. They call it double glazed glass, like donuts. But look at that, which simply means they've brought 2 layers of glass together so that the insulation is much higher in terms of keeping sound out. And look at these. They look like speakers, but they are microphones. What they do is they grab the extra frequencies, the unwanted frequencies of sound inside the cabin that could be generated by the engine, the road noise, anything, but they capture it and channel it through the music system channels and send them out. So you have more of silence, more of luxury, more of refinement. Well, just as the absence of sound is luxury, so is the presence of sound. The Bose systems in this cabin. Now, the Denali gets a 14-speaker system, while the rest of them get a 9-speaker. Great performance. A car of this size will definitely benefit from driver assistance features, and there's no dearth of them in this cabin. From blind spot monitors and lane departure warnings and assist to front collision alerts, I mean, there's a whole gamut of them. In fact, the good news is that all these features can be made available from the basic trim level itself, except one. The rear pedestrian warning and intervention is available only with the Denali because of technical reasons. Well, there is more driver assistance coming from the camera. In a car that hardly had any camera perspective provided earlier, well, now you have 9. 8 as standard across the range, and in the Denali you have the 9th one, which is here. Instead of the rear view mirror, you have a rear view monitor, a camera feed that comes from the rear. And talking about camera assistance, it can be quite helpful during off-roading as well, because you can actually call these camera views while you are driving, and it stays for 8 to 9 seconds. So in critical junctures, you can actually get an all-round view. It's not just the cameras that make the Yukon a modern car now, because there are a lot of comfort features which come with the new Yukon, like, of course, wireless charger and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. All of them are somewhat expected these days. They even have a Wi-Fi hotspot that can be shared among the 7 passengers. But that's not all. If you measure modernity in terms of screens, there is a 10.2-inch central screen which is standard across the range. There is an instrument cluster which is 8 inches diagonally, and there are these entertainment screens which are 12.6 inches wide. Quite wide. These are cinema halls by themselves. And then there is a 15-inch HUD head-up display which gives you all the information that you need. In fact, in an AT4, it even gives you off-road parameters. Oh, by the way, the cool box has disappeared. But what takes its place is a proper fridge. In the central console, you have a fridge, a small fridge with a dedicated compressor. Of course, you can't hear it, it's so silent. But there is space for 6 half-a-liter bottles of water or anything else. Because you can actually choose whether the temperature should be -5 degrees or 5 degrees. That's pretty cool, huh? There's something that's a measure of luxury, more than technology, more than gadgetry and all that. It's space. Well, this car is 15 centimeters longer and probably even bigger in terms of space inside. Like, the second and third row seats get 25 and 8 centimeters of stretch space respectively, and when it comes to cargo as well, there is a 66% increase in volume behind the third row seats, which means even when all the seats are up, 7 people traveling, you still have space for stuff back there. That's amazing. You don't believe what I said? There's stretch space for me. Well, look at that. Now, what I think is most special about the Yukon Denali, or across the range, is that it has become more capable and more comfortable at the same time. And while the space has grown, it really doesn't feel so while you're driving, because there is much more control. The new Yukon gave me the confidence to take bends at speeds at which I wouldn't have imagined before. And also, it made me feel so much more comfortable driving during the off-road experience. If service is the measure of luxury, Yukon Denali is a great place to experience it. Now, this car comes with GM's OnStar services, which is basically, it's a satellite-connected call center that takes calls, that keeps track of you to make sure that everything is okay with you. This is how it works. If you're in an accident, it triggers a crash response system. The car communicates with this call center on behalf of you, and they make arrangements for things to be taken care of. 2, if the car gets stolen, there is an intervention that makes sure that the car is brought down to idle slowly, or if it is switched off, that it doesn't get switched on again. So great ways to stall and catch the thief. And guess what? If you lock yourself out, the OnStar services can remotely access your doors and unlock them for you. Cool. The Yukon range gets a new trim level, that is AT4, Alpha Tango 4, or All-Terrain 4. Well, this is the AT4. Now, it's all about capability, as always AT4 has been, and with this, the entire GMC range now has an AT4. This one shares almost all the privilege features with the Denali, like the camera angles, the driver assistance features, the air ride suspensions, and all that. But there are differences that separate the AT4 from Denali as well. Now, these wheels, they are 20-inch wheels, while the Denali gets 22. But these have much more aggressive tires. So, because this is cut out for adventure. And inside, of course, is the major difference, because like the rest of the range, the AT4 also gets 5.3-liter V8 engine. The AT4 performs better during an adventure because its ground clearance is better, and also the approach angle is 34. It's a segment leading 34 degrees approach angle, which is a few degrees higher than the regular trim levels as well. It is higher, but you can't see the exhaust pipes. Well, that's reserved for the Denali, because this one is more about performance and less about showing off.
The new Yukon has better dynamic fuel management technology and cylinder deactivation and all that, which help the car from falling in fuel economy. Now that's an improvement, and GMC is anyway raving about how their fuel economy is best in class compared with all those rivals, the biggies out there. So there was a time when we used to look at these large vehicles, these homes on wheels or castles on wheels, and wonder, well, how hard must it be to drive one of these? But it's so surprising, so ironic that these cars are so much more easily maneuverable, much more enjoyable in driving and riding. The GMC Yukon being one of the tallest and largest SUVs, yes, it probably is a bit hard to peek around the corners, but the Yukon design has done a couple of clever things. They've kept the window line a bit low. Well, yes, it initially feels like the passengers are exposed to the world a little more than they would want, but not exactly. It is actually a boon because it makes your view much easier around, especially around the pillars. And when it comes to blind spot as well, this setting kind of does away with all possible blind spot. The side view mirrors are quite large, and as soon as a vehicle passes by and drops out of the side view mirror, you can immediately see it here. Of course, with shoulder check. A shoulder check is mere driving manners you ought to have. But then again, you have blind spot monitors that blink on your side view mirror. In the AT4, even the head-up display is customized for adventure. I can see the parameters like approach angles and all that on the head-up display. Hey, we're going off-roading. So all that the Denali needs to keep up is to raise the ground clearance using the air suspensions.
So altogether, what is most special about the new Yukon is that what could be, given its size and shape, an unwieldy, boxy, big car has been converted into an enjoyable, pleasurable, capable and comfortable family car. That's great.